Hello, my name is Dr. Brendan Towns, PhD, ADD, unfortunately STD, but also D2B. Today, me and my group team Blackhammer will be talking to you guys and helping you to learn about part 4 of Zeitoun. Now, before we begin and go into further details about part 4, I just want to get into a brief plot summary. Alright, so Zeitoun and three of his friends are taken captive by law enforcement. Originally, they believe that they are being evacuated and being brought to a safe place until they are ultimately brought to jail. They're being held prisoner because they are believed to be involved with Al Qaeda, a terrorist organization operating out of the Middle East. Um, Once in jail, they really have nothing that they can eat because the only possible meal choice that they have is pork ribs. And as you all know, in Islam, you cannot eat pork. So they're caught in a moral fork in the road in a sense. So they choose not to eat the food. And also, even though they're in prison, they still stay strong to their religious beliefs and continue to do their prayer rituals where they have to wash their hands before they pray. Unfortunately, they don't have access to water, so instead they decide to be inventive and use gravel to cleanse their hands. Once in prison, um, Zeitoun only gets one phone call. However, he can't get in contact with Kathy, so he eventually gets a missionary to send a phone call to Kathy, and she works to get the charges dropped on Zeitoun. However, they believe that he will not actually be released even though his charges have officially been dropped because there are no real records being kept of him at the prison. So Kathy decides to get her lawyers involved, and they spread their story to CNN, and try and get as much national coverage on it in order to get them to drop their case.
Oh, hey, it's a camera right here. I didn't even know it was right here. Hello, how y'all doing today? For y'all who don't know me, I go by Dr. Strokes. Today, I'm going to be discussing a couple themes on a book called Zeitoun, specifically part 4. There's several themes. There's several themes that can be. There's several themes that can correspond in part 4, but we've picked 3: racism, unfair nature of the legal system, and also the persistence of love. Today, racism is still going on, as many of you may know. The most obvious today is Trayvon Martin, a poor innocent black young man that was seen as disruptive to the community and automatically labeled as a thug. Unfortunately, what led to his death was a pack of Skittles and a drink. This corresponds to Zeitoun because the law enforcement officers picked him up and identified him as Arab. Because of this, he was a member of Al Qaeda along with his companions. Beyond Trayvon Martin and Zeitoun, this corresponds to the society that we lived in. Based on the racist treatment we receive, we can't wear our favorite baseball cap. Wearing it, we are recognized or seen as affiliated with a gang. Along with baseball caps, we aren't able to wear certain colors because they represent where you're from and what you're supposed to be. Racism has become a big part in society, to a point where some of us, we don't even know that we're doing it most of the time. It is blissful ignorance. Just because we don't notice it happening doesn't mean we can't stop it. Racism should just stop, period. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate it. Have a nice day.
All right, so the two of us are about to get into the unfair nature of politics or society in Zaytoun in a second. Before we get into our little discussion, we're going to talk about what happened in part 4. So we all know Zaytoun was unrightfully imprisoned based off of his his race through, what was the official name of the act again?
The NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act.
Okay, so through the NDAA, it was made after 9/11 as a precautionary method in case of any possible terrorism that you could be detained just based on the suspicion of being a terrorist. So I'm going to let Taharka start off with this little argument here.
Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the basic basis of the NDAA is supposedly to say that the government can arrest you anytime, anywhere in the world on the suspicion that you are linked or are an active member of a terrorist cell. Just as what happened to Zeitoun when he was imprisoned by Blackwater guards and thrown into Camp Greyhound. He was tried without due process. In fact, they didn't even throw him in trial. They just threw him in jail. And just kind of disregarded the fact that he was a human being, no human rights, nothing like that. The Bill of Rights does not exist. You are just basically a prisoner without a name and without a voice. Mr. Towns?
So I can understand why the people would see the negatives in it, and I do agree that sometimes the act is used unjustly and for personal gain and for all the wrong reasons, really. But you cannot deny, though, that there is a certain necessity to a law like this if used correctly.
Right.
Because, it was originally made and designed as a way to stop a potential threat before it happens. I mean, I think we all would like to stop an act of terrorism before it begins. However, we can't allow our personal prejudices to
alienate.
Alienate other people and to affect our decision. It should be something that I think the law as a base is flawed, so it needs to be further elaborated on with additional context and everything through the legal system before it's really going to be a decent prevention method.
Right. I agree, but I mean that is all in an ideal world. Like if you like in an ideal world, guns are safe. Abortion is used sparingly only for emergencies. And in an ideal world, we all wish we had an ideal world, but we have this world, and this is our only one. And so we have to acknowledge that. Oh, damn, fly. But we have to acknowledge that there are going to be some very unidyllic people who will come and try to take and use that for power. Like the NDAA I would agree with it if it was used responsibly, but there are some very irresponsible people in the White House, Bush, and they would use it for their own political agenda. But also you have to acknowledge that there are also some innocent people, at least they say that 14 clear-cut cases out of Guantanamo Bay should be subject for release, but they have no chance of being paroled. These people are doctors, teachers, regular, average, everyday people, but they have to be thrown in jail for their faith and the suspicion of them being terrorists. Plus, when they are thrown in jail, they're treated like cattle, almost reminiscent of American slavery in the 1800s, where they're beaten, they're force-fed, they're made to do labor, a lot of dehumanizing things. If you really want to get into it, you can go watch the Abu Ghraib footage. Oh boy, I messed that up. Abu Ghraib is a prison where it was a big controversy because it was an American black zone prison, which means that it's a foreign prison ran by American governments that do not have the same kind of legality that's held by an American prison. And these people were made to strip down, pose naked, do all sorts of gross, weird stuff, and they got away with it. A lot of the soldiers were not prosecuted or were not, brought to justice. So there we go.
All right. So thank you for listening to this little quick discussion we had. Hope you enjoyed it. On to the next one. Oh, hi. Me again, Dr. Towns. Yeah, so I'm here to talk to you guys about the persistence of love. Now, this was definitely a theme we saw in the book for however brief it was, especially in this little segue where we have Kathy trying to free Zeitoun. Now, I say this because as soon as Kathy heard the news, rather than panicking, she immediately worked to find a decision, and she wanted to free the person she loved. she understood, though, that it was going to be an uphill battle because there were no official charges against Zeitoun. However, she was going to be going up against the state. And no matter what case you mount, going up against the state in any type of legal trial is ridiculously hard. But she wanted to make this fight for her husband, the person she loves. And as far as relating it to our lives goes, um, the only real concrete evidence that I can really look to is the same persistence our parents have in regards to their love for us. I mean, we go to a Catholic school where they charge us like $700 a month to read some books and fail some quizzes.
750.
Thank you, 750. So really, it's unreal because they could easily just put us in some public school where they don't care about us, or make it easier for themselves and not even send us to school. But they continue to fight for us and not only provide for us as far as an education goes, but to make sure that we never want for anything, in a sense, and that we are just well taken care of, period. And so back to Zeitoun. In regards to the relationship he has with Kathy, that love has always sort of been there throughout the novel, and it's starting to show more and more why that buildup was necessary, because it showed how that family essence was really in them, how no matter what their age difference was, no matter what type of persecution really went their way, that they were prepared to fight through everything as a team instead of as two separate entities, which, let's be honest, some marriages end up becoming. And this marriage is a blessing because that problem is non-existent. That is basically everything I have to say. So I'm out.
Yes. Hello, everybody, and hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry it was a little long, but had to make a lot of points. It was a very important chapter as far as the book goes. It gave a lot of insight to American culture as it is now. If any of you guys have any questions or any concerns or anything you want to go over, you can go over the email that is, or the PowerPoint that is within the email. And there's not much else to say except have a good break.